Gender and development. What is your gender? I am male because I have testes and short hair. I am female because I have ovary and long hair. But that is a wrong concept. That is not gender, that is sex. Gender and sex are different. Sex is a biological concept that anatomy of an individual's reproductive system and secondary sex characteristics. Gender is a social contract specifying the socially and culturally prescribed roles that men and women are to follow. In some circumstances, an individual assigned sex and gender do not align and the person may be transgender. How does this gender develop? Did your parents told you to play guns or dolls? Or did your parents told you to wear briefs or panty? Well, if yes, that is supported by social learning theory. Male or female module specially parents as the distributor of reinforcement. Reinforcement appropriate gender role behavior, social learning. Did you acquire gender appropriate behavior when you were 2 years old because of symbolic thinking? If yes, this can be explained by cognitive development theory. Using symbolic thinking, children require their gender identity and then begin to process for acquiring gender-appropriate behaviors. But if your gender was developed through schema, this is under the concept of gender schema theory. Now, let's compare male and female in any aspects. Boys are better in mathematics than girls. Girls speak or pronounce words better than boys. Females should do the household chores. Males are rough, noisy persons, while females are gently soft-spoken. This idea is called gender stereotyping. Gender stereotyping are beliefs humans hold about characteristics associated with males and females. This gender stereotyping contributes much to the two concepts that gently affects the development of a society, the gender equality and inequality. Gender equality gives men and women the same entitlements to all aspects of human development. Strong evidence from around the world confirms that gender equality accelerates overall economic growth, strengthens democratic governance, and reduces poverty and insecurity, and therefore promotes development. On the contrary, gender inequality refers to unequal treatment or perception of individuals based on their gender. It arises from difference in social constructed gender roles as well as biologically. Gender inequality tends to slow economic growth and make their rise from poverty more difficult. It promotes discrimination rather than development. The most significant factor affecting gender equality and inequality is power. Power is a basic fabric of society and it's possessed in varying degrees by social factors in diverse social categories. Who are more powerful, men or women? Both men and women have the possibility of being more powerful in their own society and in their own way. It depends on the amount of the determinants of power they have. The determinants are status, resources, experience, and confidence. As a person gains such determinants, the greater power he or she will achieve. But by virtue of males' greater ascribed status in society, men have more legitimate power than women. Education is seen as providing key in promoting gender equality regardless of the power and status an individual has. As future educator, let us promote gender-sensitive education. It is a way to reduce barriers to personal economic development created by sexism. It helps them determine which assumptions are in matters of gender are valid and which are stereotype generalizations. Who was Lawrence Kohlberg and what was this theory? He is a professor of Harvard University. A moral development, 3 levels to stages in each level, occurs through interaction with environment. Maturity does not influence movement through stages. Moral progression cannot be taught. Development occurs from your own thinking about moral problems. Level 1, the pre-conventional level. Stage 1, obedience and punishment. Moral decision made on basis of avoiding punishment. For example, will I get punished of this?
An example is that the pre-conventional level is
Stage 2, rewards or market exchange. Personal gain is the basis of decision.
What they and other children will get out of the decision. Whenever faced with the moral dilemma, this is too stressful.
For example, what do I get out of this?
An example is a child.
Stage 3, ethics of peer opinion. Popular opinion is the basis of decision. For example, what will others think? Stage 4, ethics of law and order. Lawfulness is the basis of decision. For example, what does the law say about this? Stage 5, social contract. Good is the basis of decision. For example, what do our values say? Stage 6, universal principles. Personal values are the basic of decisions. For example, what does my conscience say?
Intellectual development refers to the changes that take place as a result of growth and experience in thinking, reasoning, relating, judging, conceptualizing, and more. These are the changes evident in children as a part of intellectual development or cognitive development. It is how children think, explore, and figure things out. Basically, it is the development of knowledge, skills, problem solving, and disposition that help children to think about and understand the world surrounding them. Brain development is a part of cognitive development. Children, when young, are not only growing physically, but they also encounter rapid mental growth. They continue to upgrade their skills, interacting with the world. Even infants and toddlers acquire implicit theories in order to explain the action of objects and the behavior of people. These theories later go on the form of foundation for casual learning and more sophisticated understanding of the physical and social worlds. Intellectual development is all about learning. It is about how individuals organize their minds, ideas, and thoughts to make sense of the world they live in. The main areas of intellectual development are language development. It helps us to organize thoughts and make sense of the world around us. It helps an individual to ask questions and develop simple ideas into more complex ideas. Second is language development. It depends upon the child's pattern of development, age, the opportunity to experiment and use language. It is basic individual need to communicate, and language is the tools that allows this. Next is cognitive development. It's about how we use our minds and organizes thinking to understand the world around us. Cognitive development depends upon the child's pattern of development, the opportunity for playing with toys and games and experiences of activities and events. Cognitive development includes imagination. It is being able to picture things when they are not in front of you. Using their imagination, children indulge in pretend games, tell stories, draw, paint, read, make models, and dress up. Reading is an important intellectual skill. A baby is born into an environment where it is continually surrounded by words and symbols. Learning to read is the skill of being able to recognize, interpret, and understand hundreds of symbols and the combination of those symbols so that they have meaning. The process is gradual and has a pattern. For a child's intellectual development, parents and school plays an important role. The role of the parent is to spend time observing and interacting with their child and provide opportunities. Parents also help children to learn and develop through exposure to new things and by making the visit interesting places or making different materials available at home, including a household object, toys, and books. Also, schools play an important role in every aspect. When it comes to children's all-round development, school provide a structured pattern of education and promote children's mental and psychological growth and development. Here's how you can promote intellectual development in your kids. Develop problem-solving skills. Building problem-solving. Skills during the formative years of your kids can be extremely helpful for their lifetime. You can encourage them to play board games, brain games, and puzzles, motivates them to come up with original ideas of their own while waiting and listening to them patiently. Developing educational activities for kids, educational activities for preschoolers, and educational activities for toddlers is a good way to develop intellectual abilities. Increased attention. Increased attention span can play a vital role in the cognitive development of your kids and toddlers. Young people learn and grow within a social context. As we have previously learned, they are influenced by families, peers, communities, and societies. Although these systematic factors influence young people in different ways, there are some development tasks for young people that take a place in a social. These developmental tasks can be broadly discussed in three categories: autonomy, intimacy, and identity. Autonomy. During the early stage of adolescence, young people tend to be narcissistic, viewing themselves and their perspective as the most important. They also believe that others should think the same way. This causes conflict with parents when they cannot see others' perspective and are not willing to shift their position on a particular issue. As a greater capacity for abstract thinking emerged in the middle to late adolescence, young people became more willing to consider other points of view. Although they might not agree with other values, beliefs, or opinions, they are more accepting of differences in perspectives. Sometimes when young people are trying to develop skills in independence or autonomy, they will experiment with new activities and seek exciting experiences. The way in which they try to achieve this varies greatly, ranging from a gradual process where the parents being let go of their control to the younger to the person continue to push the boundaries, resulting in a conflict between them and their parents. Next is intimacy. As the young people move away from their families or their peers become increasingly important and begin to replace the family during the social and leisure activities outside the home. Like-minded peers tend to provide a sense of belonging and understanding, as well as an avenue for experimentation. Two primary development tasks the peer group facilities during adolescence are development of personal identity. Who am I? Establishing autonomy, discovering a sense of self, and separation from the family. In achieving these tasks, young people begin to think, behave, and model their physical appearance on their peers. Identity. As the young people learn about themselves through developing intimacy with others and through learning how to become independent, they inevitably begin their assess their values, beliefs, and identities. During adolescence, young people will often experiment with their hairstyle, clothing, and attitudes, and it will begin to question bigger issues in their society. These are important developmental issues for young people as they begin to form their adult identities.
Emotional development is a complex task that begins in infancy and continues in adulthood. The first emotion that can be recognized in babies include joy, anger, sadness, and fear. As children's sense of self develops more complex emotions like shyness, surprise, elation, embarrassment, shame, guilt, pride, and empathy also emerge. School-age children and young people are still learning to identify emotion, to understand why they happen, and how to manage them appropriately. Emotional expression includes several components. Physical responses like heart rate, breathing, and hormone levels. Behavioral display of emotion. Feelings that children and young people recognize and learn to name. Thoughts and judgment associated with feelings. Action signals, for example, a desire to approach or escape or fight. Influence on emotional expression include values, beliefs about appropriate and inappropriate way of expressing emotion that children and young people learn from families and educators. How effectively children and young people's emotional needs are usually met. Children and young people's temperaments, culture norms, emotional behaviors that children and young people have learned through observation or experience, the extent to which families are under various kinds of stress. The rate of emotional development in children and young people can vary from person to person. Some children may show a high level of emotional skill development while quite young, whereas others take longer to develop the capacity to manage their emotion well into adolescence. During adolescence, you will notice changes in the way your child interacts with family, friends, and peers. Every teen's social and emotional development is different. Your child's unique combination of genes, brain development, environment experiences with family and friends and community and culture shape development. Social changes and emotional changes show that your child is forming an independent identity and learning to be an adult. Emotional changes in adolescence, moods and feelings. Your child might show strong feelings and intense emotions, and their moods might seem unpredictable. These emotion ups and downs happen partly because your child's brain is still learning how to control and express emotion in a grown-up way. Sensitivity to others. As your child gets older, they will get better at reading and understanding other people's emotion. But while your child is developing these skills, they can sometimes misread facial expressions or body language. This means they might need some help working out what others are feeling. Next is self-consciousness teenage. Self-esteem is often affected by how teenagers think they look. As your child develops, they might feel self-conscious about their physical appearance. Your child might also compare their body with those of friends and peers. Next is decision making. Your child might go through a stage where they seem to act without thinking a lot of the time. Your child's decision making skills are still developing and they are still learning that actions have consequence and even risk sometimes.
Social development theory attempts to explain qualitative change in the structures and framework of society that help the society to better realize aims and objectives. Development can be defined in a manner applicable to all societies at all historical periods as an upward ascending movement featuring greater levels of energy, efficiency, quality, productivity, complicity, comprehension, creativity, mystery, enjoyment, and accomplishment. Development is a process of social change, not merely a set of politics and program instituted for some specific results. During the last 5 centuries, this process has picked up in speed and intensity, and during the last 5 decades has witnessed a mixed surge in acceleration.
Language development in childhood. So language skills are essential to a child's ability to communicate and develop. These skills enable children to engage with other people and learn from their surroundings and in the classroom. Skills are about children learning the rules for putting words together in a way that will express their thoughts and feelings and understanding the meaning of both the written and spoken word. Language is made up of four main areas, which include phonology, the way sounds are structured and sequenced in speech; semantics, how vocabulary is used to express concepts; grammar, this involves syntax, which is the way words are arranged to form a sentence, as well as morphology, which is the use of grammar to express tense or the active voice; pragmatics, the skills used to communicate effectively, such as waiting your turn to speak, adapting language based on the person you are speaking to, and how to ask for something or greet someone. The first 5 years of a child's life are the most important in terms of language development, although they continue to develop through the rest of childhood and into adolescence. During the first 5 years, new nerve cells grow and connect in the brain that enable the child to use language for self-expressions. It is therefore important that the child is stimulated during this time to ensure their progress is not slowed and their communication skills are not affected. Although each child develops language skills at their own pace, there are some general milestones that can act as indicators that language is developing normally. Healthcare professionals use these indicators as a guide when assessing whether a child may need any extra assistance. Early stage. In early stage of developing language, a baby's brain is geared to pay attention to the sounds used in speech, so they can attempt to mimic and repeat them. The baby may also make up their own sounds. Once a baby has reached their 3 months, they may make cooing sounds, smile in response to being spoken to, recognize certain voices, and make different crying sounds depending on what they want. In 6 months, after 6 months, the baby may be able to make various sounds such as babbling and gurgling. They may move their eyes in the direction of where a sound is coming from and express pleasure or displeasure using their voice. They may also respond to changes in tone of voice. After 12 months, the infant may mimic speech sounds, understand simple instructions, recognize the words used to describe common items, and be able to say a few words. An infant usually utters their first word sometime between 9 and 18 months of age, with the most common being mama or dada. After 18 months, the child may be using up to 10 words and be able to assemble a couple of words. To make a simple sentence such as "Mommy throw ball," they may also be able to recognize the names of people and objects that commonly surround them and follow simple instructions. 2 years. By the age of 2, the child may use various simple phrases, ask and understand simple 1 to 2-word questions, and have a vocabulary of up to 50 words. 3 years. By about 3 years of age, the child has started to use language for various things, such as trying to get what they want and trying to tell stories. Preschool age. By the time the child is old enough to go to preschool, 5 to 5 years, they may be familiar enough with language rules to be able to connect, quantify, and express their thoughts, with their language becoming closer to that of an adult. Elementary school age. Once attending elementary school, the child continues to expand their use of spoken language as well as starting to learn how to read and write. As they progress through middle school, children continue improving their vocabulary and grammar. Their writing becomes more complex and their reading and comprehension skills continue to develop.